Okay, so this one, assuming I have it timed out right, this welcome to our Halloween Steven Seagal Spooktacular. This is the episode.
Is this gonna come out like on?
This literally comes out on Halloween Day.
Oh,
Really?
no!
So you can tell this was very intentional that we had this time perfectly, because the zombie vampire like horror-ish movie comes out last week, and this week is a Russian mob revenge story, which very Halloween-y, but to be fair, these episodes tend to drop like, I don't know, like 6 or 7 p.m. like on the day of.
Yeah.
So if it is like literally 7 p.m. on the evening of All Hallows Eve, and like you're time to listen to the Steven Seagal podcast, like
Rethink that.
Rethink a lot. Like, reverse call to action. Don't listen. Don't subscribe. But so, just think of our episode from the 24th as the Halloween episode.
Yeah.
This one's coming out on Halloween. I feel like we have to acknowledge that.
We were just preempting it.
This movie has absolutely nothing to do with Halloween.
No.
All right. With that out of the way.
What movie are we talking about this week?
We're talking about the 2009 American-Canadian joint action film Driven to Kill.
Mm-hmm.
Filmed in British Columbia. Interesting. Okay.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah, I guess. And I think a lot of people use podcasts like for their commutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make sure we're being commuter friendly, because for some people their commute might be like half an hour. For some people their commute might be like, an hour, 45 minutes or something. But there's an off chance that somebody's commute might be like 3 minutes. So here's the 3-minute commute friendly version of this podcast. This movie sucks. It's terrible. Don't watch it. 1 star. I hated it. That's my review. You're welcome. There you go. Okay. Have fun at work. Bye.
Play the music right now.
Yeah, look at that. You finished all your podcasts and before the theme music even started. That's what I call efficiency.
But you can't check your 6. It's kind of like, taking a screwdriver to a gunfight. What's happening? Just like on top.
So.
Well, we're back to normal because I actually didn't hate this one.
Oh, now it's like slipping back into your old baseball mitt and it still fits.
Like riding a bicycle.
Back to normal.
It's like riding a bicycle, because my kind of sentiment on this is I'm gonna do a Hans this week. Like if I get
Hans?
Hans gets to be Hans every single week. We're not all so fortunate.
Mm-mm.
I'm gonna cash in my Hans chip. Like I've been to the Froyo stand enough that I get the 10th one free. So I get to be Hans today. This movie sucked. I hated it. I'm coming in hot. Like it made me angry. I did not enjoy myself. It started off awful, and I'm not gonna say it gets good. It starts off terrible, and then it gets better from that. But the whole time I'm just watching this movie, I just can't stand this guy. This is the most obnoxious and awful version of the same character that he's played like 30 times now that we've seen so far. I hated it. Oh wait, I need to do it just sucks. I hated it. I hated it. Well, the Hans noises where you can feel his hands over his face. I just hated it so much. That's me with Driven to Kill.
Okay, but what actually happened?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, let's get a plot.
Okay, but in Hans fashion, I had to tell you that before I could summarize it. You need to know how much I hated it.
You did a really good job. I think
you really did. You nailed it.
I think when they turn our lives into a movie, you can play Hans.
Do each of us have to just rotate one person to the left? Is that the
deal?
I
play Zach and you play me.
The Hans, Aaron, Zach. Well, I'm just imagining that it's the Hans biopic about his life with Zach, where starring Zach as Hans.
I cannot believe there have not been two actors, two really close friend actors who did that.
That's probably what's going to happen if they make a Ben Affleck movie or something. Matt Damon is going to play Ben Affleck. It would be that pairing. Or I could see Bob Odenkirk and David Cross doing that for a bit.
Yeah.
Actually, that sign me up. That needs to happen.
Shriner coming to theaters. November 2029.
That would be an even more boring movie than what we're about to talk about.
I don't know.
Driven to Kill.
It's tough competition.
Well, actually, we'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get there.
I didn't hate this one. I'm really surprised.
I didn't hate
we're
it.
back to like flipping.
I didn't hate it, but you'll see why when we get to the plot synopsis.
Steven, which is happening now. Hello, welcome. You're at the plot synopsis. Steven Seagal plays Ruslan Drakev. He is a former Russian mobster, and so of course his character's name is Ruslan because he could not think of an additional letter. He could just change one letter there.
Well, no, it's Russian. Okay,
his name's
but
Ruslan.
that I
Ruslan.
just got a little long.
Yeah.
And just
like the fact, this is just messing me up that he's trying to do a Russian accent this time, and his name is Ruslan. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
is he trying to do a Russian accent?
Okay,
though?
hold. Okay,
Sometimes.
I'm getting there.
Not all
So
the
this is
time.
not, I believe, the second time he's played a Russian. I think in Half Past Dead, his character was supposed to be Russian, but he didn't do an accent in that one. But this one, this is the first time
for the Russian mob in that one.
he is full. Oh yeah, this time he is fully committing to his character is Russian.
Oh yeah.
He started talking. I thought this guy was like, I thought he was going for a really bad Mexican accent at first. Like for the first second, I thought this was like a South Park, like Jeff Dunham levels, like dude doing like a Mexican accent. It took me a like past the first sentence to realize he was trying to be Russian. It starts off with the worst 2 minutes of any like film I've ever seen.
That I think we can all agree with.
We can all fully
That
agree
was
with.
just difficult. That was tough to stomach.
It was
I was like,
hard
I'm
to
going to turn
watch.
this thing off. He is with a woman who seems to be a partner of his, and I don't know, like, is there such a thing as like the anti-Bechdel test? Like, the only thing we know about this woman is she seems to please him sexually, and she thinks his stories about being in the Russian mob are cool, and if he tells her more stories about his time in the Russian mob, she will do more things to please him sexually. That is the only thing.
and
With her
and
friend.
invite her friend to also do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's part of the.
Yeah.
She's like, ooh, tell me more of your stories, and he's like, no, and she's like, I'll make it worth your while, and he's like, you baby, you've treated me so good, and she's like, my friend over there, she hasn't. We'll invite her over. It's disgusting.
It's really, really gross.
I hate it. And the story he's telling from the mob is not even that interesting.
No,
It's about
and it factors in not at all.
Not at all.
You
Well,
could
like-
you could skip. Well, okay, they
Yes.
tried, but not
no.
really.
So this entire time, he is actually an author, apparently, in this one.
Yes. So we learn that he's living in California. He used to be a Russian mobster. The story he was telling was about like they would put a metal spike underneath like a paper cup or whatever,
Yeah.
and you just have to slam your hand down. And she's like, "How'd you know that the spike wasn't there?" And he's like, "I didn't. The secret is to not give a."
They're playing like the shell game, but with a
Yeah.
spike
Yeah.
under one of them, under one of the
Yeah.
cups, and you have to slam your hand down on the cups and make sure you don't slam your hand down on a giant needle.
Well, you just slam it down, and the trick is to not give a. You don't know which one it's under.
Ugh. We've spent longer talking about this awful scene than
True.
it actually was. Just it was the
And
worst.
we
Move
learn
on.
he used to be in the mob, and now he's like, Tim Schmancy writing his like, thriller like crime novels or whatever. He gets a
Making
call
me
from
spit
his
up
ex.
water. Tim Schmancy.
He gets a call from his. Also, the image of him using a keyboard is so funny. It's
Oh
like
my
watching,
god!
It's like watching a bear from Yosemite National Park try to use a keyboard. Like he's just pawing at it vaguely.
How does he write
I
his
can't-
books?
I
Like
can't
this,
even like what you're describing is so accurate that is not hyperbole in the slightest.
Like it
That's
looks
exactly
like they
what
gave him
it
a
is.
comically small keyboard.
He's like his arms are out to the side and he's typing at it like perpendicular to how you would actually hold your hands on a keyboard.
We'll have
It's
to-
the strangest
we'll have to,
thing I have
get a
ever
screenshot of
seen.
this. It's so funny.
He could not have put in any less effort. I'm sorry. I always do this. Just keep going. Keep going. We got to power through.
through.
He gets a call from his ex-wife. His ex-wife says, "Hey, your daughter's getting married." Steven Seagal has very much not been in either of their lives for some years at this point. He mentions being with this woman for like 5 years. I don't know exactly how long he's been separated. Like, not just like divorced, but like complete, absolute, like, radio silence.
Yeah.
Like, in this phone call, he asks, like, oh, she's still in college or doing grad school or whatever, and his ex-wife is like, oh, she, like, got her law degree and she's working in the DA's office. Like, that takes some time. That he has had no updates, apparently.
Mm-mm.
This is not set in, like, the 1800s. This is, like, he has a phone. So whatever. He flies to come, like, day of, like, morning of for his daughter's wedding. That's how involved of a dad he is. And he gets there, and like, this is just why it's just so annoying, because he's just doing like all the like dumb boomer like dad stuff, like, I need to meet the guy and give him my approval, and I know you've been planning this wedding for months probably at this point, but like, if you could use this ring, like, day of, hey, actually, why don't you use this ring, and you know, I just gotta take care of you. Like, ugh, I hated it. That he has been like absolutely not involved at all in her life, and then all of a sudden now he is like dictating every single thing that happens.
Like the stereotypical deadbeat dad. Like, they could not have nailed it anymore.
I just want to make sure you have a good man. It's great because he shows up and he's talking to his ex-wife, and her new husband is there, and he like speaks in Russian to her, so the husband can't understand it, and he's like, I would like to take you to bed, and she's like, I would like that as well. It's awful.
Why does he have such a good relationship with his ex-wives in all of these?
That's the thing, I don't get it. Like,
because no woman in a Steven Seagal movie is allowed to not like Steven Seagal.
I guess I shouldn't. Let me clarify. It's not a good, like, you hope that if your parents get separated, you hope they have a good relationship. Like, that's fantastic. No, this is like a weirdly still sexual happy relationship between two people who were divorced.
And this is not the first time. Like, if you,
it's very weird.
It doesn't make any sense.
I'd like to be very clear to make a statement from the podcast. Like, if you in real life seek a divorce, if that is best for you, if that's what's best for your family, absolutely cool. No judgments. Like, that is 100% okay. If you still manage to stay friends with your ex-partner, awesome. That's great. That's fantastic. That's best case scenario. But if you in real life have like 4 ex-wives and like you married one of them while you're still married to another one, and they've all ended like horribly, and every single time your character has an ex-wife in a movie, like, that woman is like still sexually interested in you and loves you more than like her current husband, you have like a narcissistic personality disorder. Like, there's something wrong. Anyway, but her new husband seems like he's bad news. Yeah, I don't know. He just kind of seems like a jerk. And his daughter is marrying
just has, like
the
rich
son.
Jerk energy, not
like rich jerk lawyer energy, which fair.
He's a defense. It's important to know that he's a defense attorney. He's a criminal defense lawyer.
Yes. So we don't.
That's important later.
And
apparently, in this universe, defense lawyers are evil. They're the worst. Everyone hates defense lawyers.
It kind of follows,
that's how defense lawyers work on
like
TV.
Law and Order rule.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, oh, they get the bad guys off. They just love they get their kicks off of making sure bad guys like stay out of prison and on the streets. Anyway, his daughter is engaged to, we're really failing at getting through the synopsis. We're 10 minutes into the movie. His
we
daughter
can skip
is
the next
engaged,
like 45 minutes because they don't matter.
She's engaged to the son of a local Russian mob boss. Like, but like, they weren't cool. Like, Steven Seagal is not friends with this mob boss.
Oh, they were arch enemies.
They were arch enemies. But it seems like the son is like, no, I just love your daughter. Like, I'm not interested in the whole Russian mob thing. So Seagal's like, okay, I'm going to go to my hotel. I'm going to leave. And like, people just kind of leave. And then these dudes come in and just straight murder Seagal's ex and almost kill his daughter. She's still alive. But again, the police show up. They're doing their, police thing that they're supposed to be doing. They're doing their job. So Seagal shows up and just starts telling them, hey, actually, you're doing this right. You're listening to me now. And for some reason, they listen to him.
Yep.
This isn't even, he's done this before, but normally, like, he is a former cop or an FBI or CIA or something. He is a former Russian mobster turned crime novelist.
And he
shows up to the crime scene and he's just like, barking orders at everyone.
Well, he doesn't just bark orders. He shows up at the crime scene, sees one of the cops' jackets, like, over a chair, takes the badge out of the jacket, puts it in his jacket, and then starts barking orders. And then, like, 30 seconds go by. Like, this matters not at all. 30 seconds go by, and the woman whose badge he stole says, hey, that's my badge.
Yeah. Walks onto a
Why?
crime
And
scene,
then
impersonates an officer, gets caught immediately.
And then after getting caught by the officer he was impersonating, he gives more orders, and she still's like, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right, yeah. He's like, don't tell anyone that she's alive. We're going to act like she's dead. And she's like, oh, okay, sure, yeah, good idea. It's stupid. It sucks. I hate it. Ex-wife's husband, Terry, he is like, hey, I want revenge too. So let me point you in the direction of one of my former clients who can get you a gun. When Seagal shows up, the people don't trust him. And then they get a text and they're like, yeah, this guy's a cop. And they try to kill him. Of course, Seagal kills them all. And he sees that the text, very like, you know, a real professional criminal would do. They have the fact that it's the lawyer, like new husband's like name saved in their contacts. So it says they got a text from Terry telling them that Seagal was a cop. He was trying to set up to get Seagal killed. So Seagal's like, okay, I'm gonna. Yeah, and then I can't actually remember if it happens before this or after this. It doesn't matter. He like. He goes to his daughter's fiance and he's like, so you need to be a real man and you need to get revenge. So I'm going to take with you on like my revenge rampage and show you like, you know, how a real man gets real revenge. This is going to be important later. That the son is like, hey, I'm just a guy. I'm just a dude. And Skull's like, no, you need to come with me and do like mobster stuff and like rough up some dudes and like get revenge on the fact that your fiance was murdered.
He's like, I really don't want to. That's not.
He's like, I don't want to. Sure, I guess if you and his dad shows up, the Russian mobster that was rivals with Seagal, and he's like, you know what? Yeah, that'd be good. Like, take my son and go do this stuff. Like, so he's like, okay, if both of you are gonna like make me do it, fine. And so then this is where we can kind of just skip like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Because they're just doing that.
Nothing.
They just go and rough people up, and somehow that leads them to the next clue vaguely.
There's really no rhyme or reason to any of it.
They shoot up some guys, and that leads them to a strip club where they just kind of happen to bump into like more people.
And there's like a 10-minute scene where they just have this very slow conversation about being in the mob while a woman just like gyrates in front of them.
Yeah, that scene sucks. I hated it. It was very uncomfortable. They just
like,
go to the private room of a strip club.
There's no reason for this scene could have taken place in the car on the way here. But instead, the scene could have not happened. Also, just decides to have this dancer in front of them the entire time they're having this conversation about him not wanting to be a mobster, but Seagal's like, but you have to be. Like, you don't have a choice. And he's like, I don't. That doesn't make any sense. Right.
This whole time, the one detective he was impersonating and another one like are kind of doing like they're trying to investigate the crime too. It doesn't matter. No. It doesn't go anywhere.
They
don't
discover
do
no
anything.
Evidence.
Like,
they follow no leads.
They bring in some of the people, like they bring in Seagal at one point and she like reads part of his book to him. Sure. They like bring in like a bunch of the dudes he roughs up. They like talk to some of them. They don't get anything. It doesn't matter. They don't even come up in the last like half hour of the movie. You just kind of, the movie forgets about them. They don't matter at all. Until eventually, as we go on and we get to the movie, the police escort that have been watching over his daughter in the hospital, like the nurse calls and she's like, he's gone. So he's like, okay, I need you to like take her to an abandoned wing of the hospital, like get her where like no one will be able to find her, like I'm coming that way. And it turns out that his ex-wife's husband Terry was kind of scheming. He's a part of this plot to like kill them because the ex-wife recently discovered like compromising materials on him that she was gonna like blow the whistle on, like, oh, he's a corrupt lawyer. Ooh, just like all defense attorneys, right? Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
And the fiance's dad, the rival crime boss, is also in on this because he doesn't like that his son he's a Russian mobster. He's like, my son is marrying like this attorney in the DA's office. Like, I don't like that. So they're all in on it. Everyone that you're supposed to not like in the movie, it turns out they're evil and they were in on this whole plan too.
And just in case the viewer didn't know that, they explain all of that to you.
It's very helpful.
Close to the very end.
If you just completely tapped out for a while there.
Yeah, as we've seen in the past in these movies. Just in case you didn't know, they have a little monologue and they explain the plot up to that point.
Like, honestly, the one kudos I'll give to this movie, like more movies that are in the similar vein should do that, because they're like, hey, if you haven't been paying attention, if you tapped out, if you've been on your phone, like, here's what happened. You're like, thanks for the Spark Notes movie. I appreciate it. So basically, the whole Russian
so
mob for the area
lazy.
is showing up dressed as police officers, and they're raiding the hospital.
Dressed as police officers.
Okay.
Well, they're just
They
wearing
put on-
like their typical Russian mob stuff. Like they're in tracksuits
With like bullet,
and
yeah.
they put on bulletproof vests that say police across the front, and then walk into the hospital with Kalashnikovs. Like,
and just start shooting it up.
yeah.
They
actually, one of the police
and-
officers mistakes them for other police officers. So, oh, hey, boys. And then they just decide to shoot them. Like, they could have just kept walking. It would have been fine.
So, of course, Seagal shows up and he helps fight them all off. The fiance, Seagal has him stay with Terry, like, in the room, like, with the daughter. Like,
He's got
he
Terry
has the
in
fiance
handcuffs.
hold Terry at gunpoint. Yeah, they're just chilling in there the whole time. Seagal kills the dudes, like, one by one. There's one bit, it's, when Seagal tries to MacGyver himself, like, he tries to, like, be a cool guy who assembles something.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that this is as bad as when he uses his crafting skills to turn 2 knives into 1 knife. But he's making, like, an explosive device, and you see him, like, meticulously placing in, like, calipers and scalpels and medical
like a bone
surgery,
saw,
surgical equipment,
yeah.
sharp things, a bone saw.
Things that
but he's
you
like
could find in
carefully
a hospital.
packing the stuff in, like he's to make a claymore, and then he puts that in like a plastic bin, and then he just shoves like 5 drawerfuls of the stuff on top. Like I don't even know why he was
like
packing
just
stuff in.
construction nails,
just nails, random stuff, like any sharp object
like
you could think
framing
of.
nails,
like just ninja, like shuriken,
from
like
a hospital.
who knows, like I don't know what, spark plugs, sure, whatever. But like he just like packs it in and then puts it in a bin and just tosses like so much more stuff on top. And then when he's fighting the guys, he like pushes this thing and explodes and it takes out 1 dude. He spends all this time to make literally like a tub-sized bomb and kills 1 dude.
Which he made out of just duct taping all of those knives to a grenade.
A grenade.
He just could have thrown the grenade.
He just could have thrown the grenade.
The grenade
it would have been
up,
faster, easier, more efficient, more deadly.
And the grenades come up twice in this movie, and both times it's a frag grenade, and both times it makes this like huge gasoline explosion.
Yeah,
that just doesn't.
And then we get to the end. Seagal encounters the fiance's dad, his arch enemy or whatever. They have their big fight. It's dumb.
Of course,
hand-to-hand fight until at the end the guy pulls out the gun and Seagal gets the gun from him, and he doesn't shoot the guy in the head. He shoves the gun into the guy's eye sockets.
Okay, so did you know? I'm really sorry, but did you notice that when he's holding the gun that the guy pulls out, it's a 1911, and when he shoves it into his eye socket, it is a very different gun that is clearly not a 1911.
That's pretty much what I'd expect from this movie, because I don't even think you could shove a 1911 into a guy's eye socket.
They got something that has a much more like tubed.
Yeah.
I don't know what you would like. The barrel isn't in the shape of a handgun. Yeah, exactly.
I know that is a gun that exists. I don't know what it's called.
Right.
I don't know why it's a different gun than the one they started off with.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so bad guys are stopped, and it's great because Seagal walks into the room where Terry and the fiance are, and he's like, okay, now you can go and take Terry, turn him into the cops. And so he leaves, and of course the second the fiance leaves, his daughter wakes up from her severe case of movie characteritis that puts her in exactly the most conveniently timed coma possible, so she can they can talk and they can reunite, and she can be like, I love you so much, you're great. And then the fiance just kind of comes back. Like, he literally leaves for 2 minutes, and she like wakes up during those 2 minutes. And then like Seagal like yells at the guy. He's like, you need to put this like mobster stuff behind you. Like, you need to be a good man and like take care, like provide for my daughter and give her a good life.
It's like, that's what I was trying to do this entire time.
That's like that's my breaking point. That's my camel straw. 'Cause I'm just like, but he didn't want to do any of this. You bullied into him doing like this stupid like rampage ride along. He would have like been sitting at home letting the cops do their job if he had it his way. But Seagal's like, you need to put this all behind you. Like, she needs a good life, my daughter.
Horrible.
And that's the end of the.
Oh no! There's one more scene at the very end. He goes back to California where he's from, and the scene of him the shot of him walking down the street is the shot from the beginning of the movie, just mirrored.
It is.
Jesus.
They just reused footage from the beginning of the movie and just mirrored it.
Does he get a call from his daughter or something at the end? And she's like, I love you.
They dub over it that she just got back from her honeymoon.
Yeah.
The very first thing she did was call him.
And then roll credits. And then we're done.
Sucks.
Yeah, it sucked pretty bad.
Okay,
so what else? Yeah, what did y'all think?
You know how I
I can see how you felt.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I'm kind of in the Hans. I didn't hate this. I have in my notes. I'm actually having a pretty easy time following the actual plot, which cannot be said of most Seagal movies. This movie, for me, this movie's greatest sin is just being boring as dirt. Like it's a movie about like rival mobs and like Russian mobs and like a evil lawyer who's like in bed with the Russian mob and who hires hitmen to kill his own wife, and they make all of that just like boring as watching paint dry. And it's its greatest sin is it takes things with ideas which ought to be interesting and just makes them as boring as possible. But as a story, I can at least follow the story. Like, I was never confused as to like what is going on right now. I was never confused as to like who the major players are, which cannot be said of previous Seagal films. We have reached a level of competency that if it were less competent, I might actually have a better opinion of it. Because then at least it would give me something to like think about. I was like white knuckling, not just staring at my phone throughout this entire movie.
Yep.
Because it's just so it's so simple and just done in the most boring way possible. That's what I don't like about this movie. It's incredibly boring.
Yeah, no, on a technical level, it exists. It's fine. That's why I just personally vendetta just irrationally hated this. But like, it's not the worst one we've seen in being assembled. But it's just because you have like 50 minutes at least that's just like revelations happening that like aren't revelations at all.
No.
Like they're like, ooh, hey, we know that this guy's actually working with this guy, and you're like, yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think, Hans?
So everything that you have both said, I'm not going to disagree with. It was boring. It was dull. There was a lot of fluff in the middle that didn't really matter. But exactly what Aaron said. There was a flow to this movie. You can follow it beat to beat to beat to beat to beat. And maybe I'm so numb to that because so much of what we've been watching recently doesn't have that flow that getting to watch a movie with that flow gave me some kind of like, oh, all right, I can get into this. Maybe I was hitting the flow state a little too hard on this one. Maybe I let that wash over me a little too much, but I didn't have a bad time. It was dumb. It was bad. This was the quietest we've ever heard Seagal. He was so like unbelievably, ludicrously low spoken, and he just kind of whispered everything. And he just kind of talked like this.
Is it fair to say that this is maybe like the least consistently he's been able to hold one of his accents or voices?
All over the place.
For sure. Yes. It is everywhere.
He makes
big swings. He doesn't even...
It's not even like he kind of loses it here or there. It's like he makes big swings.
I don't even think he starts the accent until he gets the call from his ex-wife. Like that whole first like painful scene.
I have that in my notes. As soon as he starts talking to his wife, who has a very clear Russian accent, then all of a sudden he has his. And it's not even scene to scene that it's different. It's within the same scene. They're shooting the same thing, and his voice just starts to shift in a different direction, but he still talks real quiet like this, and it just doesn't make any sense.
Opposite hemispheres in the same sentence.
It's very weird. Very weird. Also, I maybe it's just my hearing, but I had a hard time just understanding what anyone was saying. I don't know if it was like the audio mixing or if people weren't like confident in their lines and they just kind of mumbled. Or like sometimes characters will just like casually switch between English and Russian as they're speaking, and there are no subtitles except at the very end of the movie. In like the final boss fight with his arch nemesis, the other Russian mobster. Suddenly now there are subtitles, even though there have been no subtitles this entire time.
Yeah. No, it was bad. It was I think I just had a better time with it because of what I'm so used to seeing, but it wasn't good. It was really dull. I think I was just letting it wash over me, just like we've had to get used to in the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
I don't have anything else. I don't have any other notes. There wasn't anything all that interesting about this one.
Now, would you agree that this is like he's playing the same character he's played, but this is maybe like the most unbearable, like just the absolute peak of just like the most intolerable version of that character? Because that's all I could think about the whole time I'm watching.
It's pretty bad. He's not like, I don't want to say he's not as aggressive in his like demeanor as other Seagal characters have been. He does just go around and like shoot people. That happens a lot. But that's to be expected. But he doesn't just like walk into a scene and then say a bunch of like really insensitive or like racist or misogynist stuff and then leave. He does that less often.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I think for me it's just purely like that he is very clearly for at least 5 years had absolutely no contact with his family.
Yeah.
And then we meant like he shows up and he's like telling her what ring to wear and like, you know, about the guy and everything. Like, I think I freaking lost it when everybody thought she was dead. And his ex-wife's new husband is like, before we know he's evil. Well, we know he's a defense attorney, so we know he's evil, of course. But before we know that specifically he conspired to have them killed, he's like, hey, I'm reaching out to the morgue and they're not like releasing the body. And Seagal says like, when this is all over, I don't even know what accent he had for this line. When this is all over, I'm going to take her ashes back home and spread them myself. And I'm like, what? She's never been there. That's not even her home.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? No.
And the stepdad's just like, yeah, okay.
Sure. Like, oh, okay, I guess
sounds
that's fine.
Good.
Like, it's just ridiculous. That even he does the same thing when he comes in and he like bosses cops around. Normally he's at least like some kind of law enforcement. He's just an ex-mobster bossing cops around. Like he just, for some reason, when he does even the same stuff he normally does, in this context, it is so much more infuriating.
I think he cares so little anymore about his appearance on screen. It's just almost astounding. I don't understand how this man, I know they're all direct to video. I know they're all low budget garbage. How does this man keep making movies? Like, I don't get it. It's so bad. And he doesn't care. He doesn't put any effort in. All the people around him, all of the cast around him actually do a decent job, like usual. And then you look at him on the screen and he's doing his usual, like, wincing face. And he doesn't respond to them. He just, and then line. It's so awful.
So I'm going to say two things that I liked about this movie.
Okay.
And just these two things about the movie will tell you what I thought about the movie in general. But these are the two things that I like. I made notes about these two things and that I liked them. One, a little bit more seriously, when it's time for his ex-wife's funeral, the priest there is wearing the correct type of cassock and stole. Like the clothes that he's wearing, that's what a Russian Orthodox priest looks like. They didn't just go to like Spirit Halloween and get a priest costume.
Is there any like but or however to that?
There's a very small however to that, in that so he's dressed in the right clothes and he's holding the right kind of crucifix, and it's something like that in the Eastern Orthodox churches, as far as I understand. They would use like a crucifix at that time. He is also holding a Bible, which there's no reason to be holding a Bible at that point. You don't actually use like just a Bible that you can buy at the bookstore at any ritual. Like you don't use that. You use like a ritual book. So that's a very small but to that. The other thing I liked, and I don't know why I even noticed this, but the mob boss, the Russian mob boss who is not Seagal, carries a Motorola Razr, and I thought that was great.
Okay, sure.
I love having your perspective on these things. Little details that I wouldn't know about.
Well, it's 2009. He's got a Motorola Razr. I'm like, this is very 2009.
I'm talking more specifically about the religion aspect, but...
Oh, well, okay, that makes sense.
Hey, Hans, do you want to know a fun little detail about this movie?
Yes, please.
The actress who plays Seagal's daughter
Is it the... Go ahead, sorry. Go ahead.
In real life is 1 year older than the actress who plays Seagal's ex-wife.
I noticed that.
Oh my gosh.
it's normally that you wouldn't think much of that in a normal movie. You wouldn't think that much of that. But in a Seagal movie, when it's something, was this one produced by Steamroller? I think it was.
So this one was Steamroller and a company called where was it? Insight Film Studios, which is great because I started off this movie and I was just thinking, boy, I wonder what valuable insight I will get out of this film.
Yeah, so you know that he himself had something to do with the casting on this movie, and you like that just makes it's just frustrating. It's bad.
Just unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. They both did great jobs.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. They were
Especially
the ex-wife was
since,
great for that
fantastic
10 minutes
actresses.
she was on screen.
Especially since his ex-wife had to act through like pounds of really bad old age makeup,
and then got killed.
And then got killed
killed
5 minutes after being introduced.
Yeah. The only thing I can say I liked about this movie, we can reset the counter. Finally, he ran in this one. It was the stunt double. It was actually him running with his little wrists like flailing weirdly as his arms did that little like duck motion.
Do you remember when that was? Like what scene that was when that was going on?
No, I didn't note down a time,
Okay.
but I saw it. It happened. It did happen.
Trust
we can
me.
reset the
Trust
counter.
me, you guys. No, you guys, you gotta trust me. Seagal ran. He ran in Canada or something. Like you wouldn't know it, but like he ran. You gotta trust me. You gotta believe me.
There was a scene in this movie with
actually
him
wait. They filmed this movie in Canada. He did run in Canada. It's Seagal's run. It's totally real. It's up in Canada though.
Yeah.
I think
I
have so few
pretty
notes
much
about
it.
this one. Yeah, I don't really.
I have my
anything to say.
line.
I hated it.
If I want to
what's
talk
your
about that.
What's your line?
It's in the very beginning when the doctor's at the house and they're talking about the dead ex-wife, and they're bringing his daughter downstairs, and they're bringing her down on this. Is it called a gurney? I don't know. They're bringing her down on this thing, and it's at like this wild angle, which is really weird while they're carrying her downstairs. I don't know. It just struck me as odd. He stops them while they're on the stairs holding this like very nearly dead girl at this really wild angle and says, "Hey, how is she?" And the doctor goes, "Well, she sustained multiple stab wounds. She's critical, but stable."
Yeah.
I don't think that's how that works.
Very similar to that. Later in the hospital, he's like asking for an update on her daughter, and like the doctor there like starts reading her medical chart. Like, here's what's happened. Here's the state she's in, and he's like, "Hey, you look me in the eyes when you tell me about her." And so the doctor's like, "We don't know when she'll wake up, but like she's currently alive." And I'm like, "Well, I'm so glad you stopped her from telling you this specific useful information to
And reading from the chart.
make your dumb boomer like look me in the eyes."
Say, well, I can't do that and read her chart at the same time. So
sure, I get. Yeah, she'll be tap dancing within the afternoon. What do you want from me? Hey, did you have a quote?
My favorite line is every time a character in this movie just kind of like slurs between English and Russian, and I can't tell what's going on.
That's your line.
That's my quote. Yeah, that's my favorite line.
Nice. So you liked actually like half the dialogue in this movie then.
Yeah. It was just kind of like, and then they'll say like a word. Yeah.
So there's this like dumb plot where like he brings the ring, and then like she's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna set this ring like over here on the table to make sure I use it for the ceremony." And like before he leaves, he just like very poorly hides it under these papers. So at one point, the lead that him and the fiance are following is like, who pawned this ring. And I can't remember exactly when it happens, but it's something like, oh yeah, these two guys like, brought in the ring or something. And he goes, 2 guys, 1 ring sounds like gay marriage. And
oh yeah,
that was my line, because like you just know, like he thought that was funny.
Also, Marriage Takes Two rings, but
yeah, 2 guys, 1 ring sounds like gay marriage. Marriage is very famous for having 1 ring involved. It's just because it's like such a dumb, like again, it just really sums up just this dumb boomer. Like I'm sure he's like cracking up at this and he thinks this is such a funny burn. He's gonna call the Russian mobster dudes gay. Wow, got him, Steve. Good job. That's my quote. 1 star. I gave this, like I wasn't I was serious at the beginning. 1 star because I can't. It's not submerged. Like this is a movie that exists. No. This is not the cutting room scraps. So it can't have half a star, but it's 1 star. It's not even getting that 1.5 from me.
I'm gonna give it 1.5, only because I can follow this movie. Like it is a whole movie with a whole plot. It might be bad, but it exists in a state that you can sit back and watch it as a movie, which is more than we can say for some of this
grading
stuff.
On a curve.
Yeah, I was prepared to give this 1.5, maybe 2 stars until Zach started giving the synopsis here, and that it brought it down to 1 star for me.
Yes. I feel like we should like have a little game. We should get points like anytime we persuade another person's star rating. Because I know there have been times where like talking about it has raised and lowered it for me, so I totally get that.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, that was really dumb.
Yeah, I was like, well, wait a second. Yeah, actually, that did bother me.
That's more than I remembered. Thanks, Zach.
Yeah.
I'm just doing. That's my public service. That's my community service.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thanks, Zach.
Yeah. That was...
what should we watch instead?
Oh, literally anything.
Literally anything.
I mean, if you want like cool gunfights with like the Russian mob involved, you have like the John Wick movies.
I was just thinking about John Wick. Yeah,
John Wick. That's a good one.
Nobody. The similar vein.
Yeah. John Wick.
I don't know. I can't
Bob
come up
Odenkirk.
with anything else, but yeah.
Yeah. There have got to be more Russian mob movies than that.
I
for
mean,
sure.
Yeah.
I'm just not.
You could watch Barry. It has Chechens. That's kind of.
It has Chechens.
If you want a TV show,
just gonna Google.
Everyone should watch
movies with Russian mobsters. Oh, The Equalizer. Hell yeah, Denzel Washington. Yeah, watch The Equalizer.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Man, we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel here. We're like, yeah, I don't know what we should watch. Just Google it.
Well, okay,
you should watch Macbeth, also starring Denzel Washington.
Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna recommend John Wick 1. Aaron, you'll recommend John Wick 2. Hans, you'll recommend John Wick 3,
definitely John Wick 2.
and then it's gonna come back to me, so I get to also recommend John Wick Chapter 4. Great. I'm
film. Definitely a John Wick 2 guy. That's my John Wick.
Is that
is
for
it
real?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's my.
I mean, it is when they first, expand out the lore. Okay. This is this can't become a John Wick podcast.
I don't see why not.
I
mean, we can if we do Keanu Reeves next season.
John Wick, the original is still top tier for me, and then.
It's very very.
So actually, wait, we do have a nice little spread here because for me, I'd have to rewatch it. But right now, I'd say John Wick 4. Watching that in theaters just blew me away. John Wick Chapter 4 was amazing.
Oh. I didn't get to see it in
theaters.
Oh,
Aaron.
Yeah.
Oh, it was fantastic. When he's like doing circles, like, in the traffic circle of France, like I have a smile on my face. I'm just so happy.
I mean, that's pretty good.
It was pretty good. The stairway.
It's like the fire breathing shotgun. Oh my God. I was in heaven. I was in Nirvana.
The whole stairway
that's
at the
cinema.
End was what did
that's
it for
movies.
Me.
The stairway, yes, the stairway scene.
So perfect. Everything
that
about
is
it.
That is cinema, baby.
Like if you
I just like seeing Mr. Krabs in that one.
Ooh, solid. Ooh, okay, John Wick. Ooh, this is tricky. Which one has like the best kind of side characters that are only in that movie? Because John Wick 1 has Willem Dafoe and Theon.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. So which John Wick has just like the best self-contained? John Wick 2 has what? Ruby Rose and Common.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
John Wick 4 has Clancy Brown. Is there anyone like... Oh, John Wick 3 has Halle Berry, of course. Almost forgot about her.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, this is
How
tough.
could we forget?
And, what's his name from John Wick 2? The owner of the Continental in John Wick 2. Who's that?
In John Wick 2?
Yeah.
Who in the Continental? Winston? Or...
No.
He's in many.
The Continental in... where does he go to do the hit?
The guy that's like, you're not here to kill the Pope, are you?
Yes,
like,
yes.
The Italian.
Yes, who's that?
Wait, who is that actor?
I think he's gonna be my pick. specifically for that line, John shows up and he says, I have to ask you something. Are you here for the Pope? And John goes, no. And he's like, all right, we're in business. No worries.
He's portrayed by Franco Nero?
Yes. Yeah,
Franco
he's going to be my
Nero's
pick.
Oh, he was in The Pope's Exorcist? Wait, he was in Django and Django Unchained. Oh, did he played Django in Django, and then he made a cameo in Django Unchained. Oh, he was in Letters to Juliet. Nice. I've actually weirdly seen a decent amount of this guy's movies. That's a solid one. And then also at John Wick Chapter 3 has the Master of Coin from Game of Thrones. What's his name? Sir Bronn, or
does it? It's been a long time since I've seen Chapter 3.
Because he's like who Halle Berry's going to kill, and you will give me one of your dogs, and Halle Berry.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I need to do a full John Wick rewatch 1 through 4. I've only ever seen the third one once, and I don't remember if that was in theaters or not. But I know I've only seen it the one time. I might have to give
like the fun one movie guest actor to John Wick 1, because Willem Dafoe is still a force to be reckoned with.
Oh, perfect.
He is
absolutely perfect in that movie.
Do y'all know like the fun fact about Willem Dafoe?
What is it?
No, I can't say it. For those of you in the know, you know the fun fact about Willem Dafoe. I'll tell you off the pod. So that has been Driven to Kill.
Okay. Why?
With the special subsequent bonus.
Hold on. Why?
Keanu Please, the Keanu Reeves fan cast, where we talk about John Wick, and Willem Defriend, the Willem Dafoe friend cast. Thank you all for listening. I hope you have a fantastic, spectacular Halloween, or if you're listening to this on your commute the day after, a very fun All Hallows Day, November 1st, fall season. Get ready.
Remember, go to Mass.
Have fun with family and friends and loved ones. Eat some soup. Have some, some nice warm beverages, some hot apple cider. I love you.
Ask for the intercession of the saints.
Yeah, also do that. Don't watch this movie. Okay, it was awful. Okay, bye.
Make sure to pray for the dead tomorrow.
Yes. If that's your thing.
That means one of us has to die.
You weren't recording that, Hans?
I just got my stuff wrapped up here. I've got Audacity open.
Gold.
A, B, C. Always be recording.
Okay, actually, are you recording now, Hans?
I am.
Maybe this will be like, a post-episode thing or something, but I have very good news for you, Hans.
Really?
For you specifically.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear it.
We went through and we were looking at like who's going to be like in charge of like recapping and editing like the remaining episodes for this like projects. And so the next couple ones are so really that we have the next few that we finish up like semester 2 the way we broke it out. So when we get to the last third, so I have Machete, and then you have Born to Raise Hell. Sure, fine.
Okay, sure.
Aaron has Maximum Conviction. I have Force of Execution. Then Hans has A Good Man, 2014. Then Aaron has Absolution. I have Code of Honor. Then Hans has Sniper Special Ops, 2016. Then Aaron has The Asian Connection. Then I have End of a Gun. Then Hans has Contract to Kill. I have Perfect Weapon. No, wait, Cartel's Way. I'm definitely mixed up here. But the point is, we keep going. And then Hans has the final film, Beyond the Law, 2019.
Man.
Every single movie other than Machete that like we have mentioned the name of, that we have not seen, but like we know the name of for this last like third, you're the star, buddy. That you get Sniper Special Ops. You get A Good Man. You get Beyond the Law. You're eating well this last third.
Eating well.
Well, eating a lot.
Well, eating like you take like a fried chicken sandwich and then fry it again and then fry it again and then fry it again until there's no chicken left and it's just fry. And that's what you're eating.